Okay, let's get into this. Have you ever had that feeling? Like you had everything absolutely figured out.
Oh, yeah.
A plan, a strategy. Maybe you even thought, okay, I found the shortcut, bypassed all the hard work.
Totally.
Yeah,
And then reality just hits you like a freight train.
exactly. It's that moment where the script just flips.
Uh-huh. You thought you were the one writing the story. Maybe even like you'd outsmarted the whole system,
Right.
only to find out the system is, well, way bigger than you thought. And maybe you never even stepped outside it.
Yeah, it's a feeling we can probably all relate to. But imagine having that moment on a, cosmic scale.
Okay.
We're talking about this incredible ancient story. Comes from China's Ming Dynasty. It's in one of the greatest adventure novels ever, Journey to the West.
Ah, yes. Sun Wukong.
The Monkey King himself.
And it's important to say, right, this isn't exactly scripture. It's more like wisdom wrapped up in this amazing adventure.
Totally. Think epic battles, magic, gods, demons, this huge journey. It's both physical and, internal.
And it's had such a huge impact. You see echoes of it everywhere, from like classic literature all the way to modern stuff like Dragon Ball or even Marvel Comics.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what we want to unpack today is this one specific, really mind-bending moment.
Right.
Sun Wukong, he's just overflowing with power, cosmic level arrogance, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
He literally declares war on heaven.
Defeats everyone.
Everyone. And then, the ultimate act of hubris, he challenges Buddha himself.
So it's like unlimited power meets infinite wisdom.
Yeah. And the result is just this massive, ego-shattering, turning point.
A huge one.
So here's the really interesting bit and why this ancient story might connect to you listening right now. The story kind of hints that we all have a little monkey king in us.
Mm-hmm.
We chase those shortcuts, right? We hustle, look for the secret sauce, totally convinced we're gaming the system, finding angles no one else sees.
It's like we're all trying to leap out of Buddha's palm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the story asks this really powerful, maybe slightly uncomfortable question. What if, no matter how far we think we've run, or how fast, what if we never actually left the palm at all?
Oof. Yeah, that's unsettling.
So that's our deep dive today. We're really going to dig into this specific part of the story. Look at how Sun Wukong got so unbelievably powerful, so arrogant.
And what actually happens when that kind of infinite power goes head-to-head with infinite wisdom.
Yeah, and crucially, what can this ancient, epic showdown teach you about those moments in your own life? The setbacks, the challenges, that humbling feeling when you realize maybe, just maybe, you weren't quite as in control as you thought.
Ready to look at limits through this kind of mythological lens?
Let's do it.
Okay, so first off, it's crucial to get that Sun Wukong wasn't, born like this. He starts out as just a really smart, capable monkey.
Right, on Flower Fruit Mountain.
Exactly. But he's got this ambition. He sees the cycle of life and death around him, and he's like, nope, not for me. He wants more. He wants immortality.
And he doesn't just wish for it. He really goes for it, seeks out this powerful Taoist master, dedicates himself completely, intense training.
And he learns incredible things.
Yeah.
Magic, the 72 transformations, cloud traveling that covers, thousands of miles in one leap?
Incredible distances, yeah. Fighting skills. And he does it. He achieves immortality.
But here's where you see the ego starting to inflate, because one kind of immortality just isn't enough for him.
Ah, interesting.
He doesn't stop at mastering one path. He starts compulsively collecting every single method of eternal life he can possibly find.
Like what?
Well, meditation, okay, check. Eating the magical peaches of immortality from heaven, check. Drinking the Jade Emperor's divine elixir, check.
Wow.
He even, like you mentioned earlier, storms into the underworld, finds the Book of Life and Death, and just crosses out his name.
Oh, not just his name.
No, all his monkey followers, too. The source material makes it really clear. He becomes virtually unkillable through sheer force of will and just stacking all these magical advantages.
It's layers upon layers of being unkillable. And then the weapon.
Oh yeah, the Rui Jingu Bang. The as-you-will gold-banded staff.
Which was originally, what, a pillar holding up the Dragon King's palace or something?
Something like that, yeah. Used to measure the seas. It weighs like 17,500 pounds, but...
But it can shrink down to the size of a needle he hides behind his ear.
Or expand to prop up the heavens, and it only listens to him.
So, okay, let's recap. You've got this being layered immortality, crazy magic, transformations, a reality-bending weapon.
Yeah, it's the perfect cocktail. Immense, completely unchecked power mixed with absolutely zero perspective or understanding of consequences.
And that's where the trouble really starts, right?
Mm.
The divine problem begins.
Exactly. And what's his first major move with all this power?
He just marches straight into heaven and demands recognition.
They give him a job, right? Something minor.
Yeah, basically stable master for the celestial horses.
Yeah.
And he takes that as a massive insult.
So his reaction isn't like negotiation or trying to climb the ladder.
No way. It's instant war. He declares himself the great sage, equal to heaven.
Just think about that title, the sheer scale of that arrogance. He's not just defying the boss, he's claiming equality with the supreme rulers of the cosmos.
And the craziest part, he backs it up. He takes on heaven's entire army, 100,000 celestial warriors, single-handedly.
And wins! The text says he's just laughing while he fights them off. Utterly unstoppable.
It's that classic story, isn't it? Immense talent, huge opportunity, but zero wisdom leads straight to chaos.
He doesn't just beat Heaven's army, he throws the whole cosmic order into disarray.
Right. It's not just a military loss for them. It's like an existential crisis for the divine bureaucracy.
Exactly. The Jade Emperor, the ruler of heaven, he's facing an impossible situation. How do you stop someone who literally cannot die, who can bend reality with his staff, and who just wiped the floor with your entire military?
Force isn't working.
Yeah.
They tried bribing him with a title. That didn't work. Diplomacy failed.
He tried everything within his system, More soldiers, different generals, different strategies.
But Sun Wukong just adapts, uses his transformations, makes clones of himself. His ego is like this black hole. Any concession just makes him more sure of his own invincibility.
So the Jade Emperor basically hits the limits of his own power, the limits of his established system. He realizes he needs to look outside the box.
He has to try something completely different.
Yeah. He does something symbolic of that shift. He makes the call. He sends for the Buddha.
Which is fascinating, right? The solution isn't more power. It's a totally different kind of authority. One based on wisdom, on understanding, not just celestial rank.
And Buddha's response is so calm. Just send him to me.
So Sun Wukong, he's swaggering in, fresh off his victory lap through heaven, probably expecting the ultimate fight.
Yeah, the final boss battle.
And instead, he just finds Buddha sitting there, radiating this immense calm. No army, no weapons, no threats, just presence.
Sun Wukong brings all the noise, the bluster, the challenge. Make me emperor.
And Buddha just brings stillness. And that stillness, well, the story shows that Sun Wukong's power just has no answer for it.
Right. He's used to opponents who fight back or run away. Someone who simply is. It throws him completely off. His usual intimidation just doesn't work.
Buddha isn't playing the power game. He sees the real problem, right? Sun Wukong's boundless ego, his total lack of self-awareness.
And you can't just beat that out of someone. You have to show them, reveal it to them.
So Buddha proposes this bet. It sounds almost ridiculously simple.
Yeah, almost insulting, maybe.
He says something like, they say you're incredibly fast, can travel immense distances with your somersault cloud. Tell you what, if you can just somersault clear out of the palm of my right hand, I'll persuade the Jade Emperor to give you the throne of heaven.
But if you can't?
If you can't, you just go back down to earth and meditate on this. Cause no more trouble.
To Sun Wukong, this must seem like an absolute joke. He can travel, what was it, 34,000 miles in one leap?
Something insane like that.
Yeah.
He's already flown to what he thinks is the edge of existence, getting out of a hand. Trivial.
He probably thinks Buddha is either mocking him or just fundamentally doesn't grasp how powerful he really is. So he laughs, right? And agrees immediately.
Yeah, easy win. So Buddha just extends his hand. And it looks, well, just like a hand. Not huge, not glowing, just a normal hand.
Go on, Buddha says. Show me.
Think about that moment for Sun Wukong. And maybe, for us too. He spent his whole existence proving himself.
Yeah.
Grabbing power, demanding recognition.
Look at me. I'm important. I can do anything. We've all felt that drive, haven't we? To prove our worth through what we can achieve.
Definitely. So Sun Wukong leaps onto the palm, looks around, probably feels a bit of contempt, like, seriously, this is it.
Takes a deep breath, coils up those powerful legs, and zooms. He somersaults.
And he flies, just flies and flies, for what feels like an age. Crosses unbelievable distances, stars, galaxies just blurring past.
He's totally pumped, thinking, I'm beating Buddha, easiest challenge ever, soon I'll be ruler of heaven. He's absolutely convinced he's leaving the entire universe far, far behind him.
And then finally, way out in the infinite void, he sees something. 5 immense pillars, kind of flesh-colored.
Stretching up so high he can't see the tops, looking like they're holding up the very fabric of reality.
Uh-huh, he thinks. This has got to be it, the absolute edge of everything, the boundary of the cosmos. He lands there, totally triumphant.
But just getting there isn't quite enough for that ego, is it? He needs proof. He needs to leave his mark.
Yeah, the universe needs to know Sun Wukong was here. He made it to the absolute limit.
So he pulls out his staff, shrinks it down, maybe finds a bit of charcoal or something, and writes his name right there on the middle pillar.
Sun Wukong, the great sage, equal to heaven, was here. Big and bold.
And, well, the source material includes this rather crude detail because his need for proof is just so absolute and maybe to really mark his territory.
Yeah. He urinates at the base of one of the pillars, a very earthly, very animal act for someone claiming cosmic equality.
It kind of shows where his head is really at, despite the grand title.
So, mission accomplished in his mind. Bursting with pride, totally satisfied, he somersaults all the way back.
Lands back in Buddha's palm, probably glowing. I did it, he shouts. I went to the edge, saw the 5 pillars, left my mark. Pay up. Heaven is mine.
And Buddha just gives him this gentle, knowing smile.
That smile that just says, oh, you poor thing.
You went to the edge, Buddha asks very softly. Are you sure? Really? Take a look here.
And this is it, the moment, the big reveal. The floor drops out from under his reality.
Buddha slowly lifts his right hand, turns it slightly.
And there, written clearly on Buddha's middle finger, in Sun Wukong's own unmistakable script.
Sun Wukong, the great sage, equal to heaven, was here.
And maybe, just maybe, a faint, unpleasant smell near the base of the thumb.
Oh, man. The 5 pillars at the edge of existence.
Weren't pillars, they were Buddha's fingers.
He hadn't somersaulted out of the palm at all. He hadn't even gotten off the hand.
His entire epic journey to the supposed edge of the universe, all contained within that single, vast, inescapable palm, he never left.
Could you just imagine that wave of realization just crashing over him? Every boast, every fight, every ounce of belief in his own absolute power, all shown to be happening inside a reality far, far bigger than he ever conceived.
He wasn't breaking the system. He was profoundly, deeply within it the entire time.
And Buddha doesn't gloat, doesn't rage. He just states the fact.
You never left my palm. Just reality, not judgment.
So what does unlimited power do when faced with that kind of truth?
He tries one last desperate act, right? Tries to leap out again, defy it.
But it's too late. The understanding is hit. The game is up.
And instead of crushing him or striking him down, Buddha just gently lowers his hand, turns it over.
And the fingers that were the pillars,
Yeah.
they transform. They become the 5 peaks of a mountain range, the mountain of 5 elements.
And that mountain comes down, pinning Sun Wukong beneath it, gently but absolutely pinning him to the earth.
For 500 years, just stuck. Immovable. But this wasn't about punishment, was it? Not really revenge.
No, I think the story makes that pretty clear. The mountain isn't a prison designed for torture. It's more like a cosmic pause button.
Right. Sun Wukong had spent his entire existence in constant motion, fighting, proving, running, never stopping, never reflecting.
The mountain forces stillness. It makes him stop. Be quiet. Confront himself, his actions, his ego, without any ability to fight back or run away.
It's the ultimate forced timeout. A chance to, maybe the only chance he'd ever get for some genuine introspection.
And stillness in this story isn't the opposite of power. It's maybe the prerequisite for a different kind of power.
The power of understanding.
Humility.
Exactly. Seeing the world as it actually is, not just as your ego demands it should be. It's under that mountain that the real transformation starts, from the great sage equal to heaven, in name only.
To someone capable of actual growth.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's bring this back around. Why does this ancient story about a magical monkey getting pinned under a mountain, why should that matter to you, listening now? Well, because the story uses this incredibly powerful metaphor, doesn't it? We are all, sometimes, Sun Wukong. We're constantly trying to escape what we perceive as the limits of our situation, the palm of our circumstances. We do it through endless striving, right? Looking for that unique angle, that shortcut.
In our careers, relationships, personal growth, we're always trying to prove we're special, outside the rules, that we've cracked the code somehow.
We pour so much energy into trying to escape, into proving we've reached some kind of edge, convinced we're miles ahead of everyone else.
When the really profound, humbling truth might just be, we've been inside the bounds of a much larger reality, maybe even just the bounds of our own selves the whole time.
Yeah, that side hustle that feels so revolutionary, that personal growth hack that seems like a secret key. Maybe it's just, writing your name on one of the fingers inside a much, much bigger picture.
And those moments when reality does hit, when the plans fall apart, when you feel stuck, pinned down, humbled.
The story suggests maybe those aren't failures. They're not punishments.
So your mountain.
Exactly. They are life, or the universe gently or sometimes not so gently forcing you into stillness.
Stopping that endless running and striving so you can finally pause, take a breath, reflect, actually see where you are, who you are beneath all the frantic effort to prove something.
The biggest distance Sun Wukong ever really traveled wasn't that physical leap to the edge. It was the internal distance from believing in his own absolute control.
To understanding his actual place within a much larger reality, the palm wasn't a cage. It was just everything. His struggle wasn't with Buddha. It was with that vastness.
And his place within it.
So maybe here's the thought to take away from this deep dive today. What feels like your mountain right now?
Good question.
What situation, what challenge, what feeling of being stuck is kind of forcing you into stillness at the moment?
And could that very thing that you're desperately trying to escape or push against, could it actually be the exact thing you need?
The thing you need to finally see the palm you've been in all along, maybe, and start a completely different kind of journey.
And remember, this deep dive really only covers up to him being pinned. The story of Sun Wukong is far from over at this point.
Oh, yeah. The source material goes on to explore what happens next when someone who has finally been humbled by wisdom
Gets their power back, but learns to use it differently. Not for ego, but for a greater purpose.
Maybe the hardest thing to escape isn't Buddha's palm or any external limit. Maybe it's just the boundary of our own ego.
The edge of the universe turning out to be just the edge of a finger. That's quite the perspective shift.
Sometimes that place you've been fighting so hard to get away from, that's exactly where the lesson was waiting all along.